Welcome to Dark Whisper Society by horror author Dark Monarch. We have really interesting and scary story for you today. The story of the candle ritual serves as a stark reminder that the pursuit of virality and online validation can sometimes blind us to real danger. While this story is fiction, the pressure to participate in extreme or risky challenges for views, likes, or shares is a genuine and growing social phenomenon. Not all online challenges are harmless. Many require participants to cross physical, legal, or emotional boundaries that can lead to severe consequences, including injury, legal trouble, or, as in this fictional case, the activation of forces you don't understand. For more stories like this one, links to Dark Monarch anthologies are in the description box. Now let's begin. Enjoy the story. The Candle Ritual. Chapter 1. Hashtag the Candle Ritual. Look, we just need to get the vibe right. Low light, dramatic music, and maybe some Latin narration I grabbed from Wikipedia. Dylan instructed, adjusting his phone on the tripod. He had the energy of a seasoned influencer, even though his followers were currently hovering just under 500. The four college friends were crammed into Dylan's tiny dorm room. Dylan, the eager videographer, Sam, the sarcastic skeptic, Mark, the nervous tag-along, and Ron, the chill but slightly spacey friend. "Are we sure this is even going to trend?" Sam asked, rolling her eyes as she taped a hand-drawn pentagram to the floor. The whole summoning demons for views thing is so 2023. "It's not just summoning, Sam. It's a ritual," Dylan corrected, hitting the record button. "We call this the Candle Ritual, a spooky take on a classic urban legend. Rule 1. Use 4 candles to represent the 4 elements: earth, air, water, fire, and the 4 of us. Rule 2. Light them at midnight. Rule 3. We extinguish them with a single breath to prove the ritual is fake. We sell the fear, then we sell the punchline." It was 11:58 p.m. Dylan had set up the scene. The room was dark, lit only by a string of fake fairy lights and the 4 tall, thin white candles. As the clock hit midnight, Dylan dramatically lit the wicks. He narrated the process, his voice low and intense for the camera. 4 lives, 4 elements, 1 space. Let the boundary be drawn. They sat in silence for a tense minute, the flickering light casting long, dancing shadows on their faces. "Okay, show's over," Sam muttered, leaning in. "Proof that the veil is decidedly unthin." "Wait for it, Sam," Dylan whispered, focusing his phone's camera. Now the grand finale, the communal breath. All 4 of them leaned forward, taking a deep breath. On Dylan's count of 3, they exhaled a powerful, unified gust of air directly at the candles. Puff. 3 of the candles, Sam's, Mark's, and Ron's, snuffed out instantly, leaving a wisp of smoke and the scent of burnt paraffin. But Dylan's candle, the one representing the element of fire, continued to burn. "Hold on," Dylan said, genuinely confused. He leaned in and blew again, hard, until his cheeks hurt. The flame simply shuddered, shrinking slightly, then immediately popped back up to its original height, burning with a strangely still intensity. "That's weird, man," Ron mumbled, finally looking interested. "It's a trick candle, right?" Sam said, reaching for it. Dylan slapped her hand away. "No, I bought these cheap generics today. They shouldn't be trick candles." He blew one last time with all his strength. Nothing. The flame was unwavering, unnaturally steady. "New content," Dylan declared, ignoring the knot of unease twisting in his stomach. He grabbed the full, clear glass of water he'd used for the water element. "Let's prove the punchline, folks." He picked up the burning candle, which felt surprisingly warm against his fingertips, and slowly, deliberately, submerged the entire flame head first into the water. The glass instantly filled with a thick, hissing cloud of steam. The water bubbled violently, but when the steam cleared, the candle was still there, sitting at the bottom of the glass. And the tiny, fierce flame was still burning, glowing brightly through the distorted glass and the churning water. Sam gasped, her sarcasm replaced by genuine fear. Mark looked physically ill. Ron just stared, his eyes wide. Dylan, however, was immediately back in influencer mode. He grabbed his phone and zoomed in on the impossible light. Holy, this is not fake, guys. This is the trend. Hashtag ritual gone right. He uploaded the stunning 20-second clip of the submerged, burning candle to his feed. It went viral within minutes. Chapter 2. The Unlit Dawn. The video clip rocketed across the internet, racking up millions of views overnight. Dylan had done it. He had the clout, the comments, and the conspiracy theorists all declaring it fake or worse, profoundly real. But in the cold light of day, the four friends felt only dread. The candle remained in the glass of water on Dylan's desk, stubbornly burning. They poked it with a pencil, tilted the glass. The flame never wavered, never dimmed. The water remained unnaturally hot. "We need to get rid of it," Sam insisted, pacing Dylan's room while Mark nervously chewed his thumbnail. "It feels wrong. Chill out. It's just a strange chemical reaction," Dylan argued, though he sounded less confident than he tried to appear. The candle had kept him up all night, its light a persistent, alien presence. Ron, who had been quiet all morning, finally spoke up. "No, Sam's right. We broke the cycle. We were supposed to put them out. We had a contract." "We didn't have a contract, Ron. We had a script," Dylan countered. "The script failed, didn't it?" Ron shot back, standing up. "Look, I'm taking mine. I want it out of this room." He walked over, grabbed the glass, and carried the still-burning candle out of the dorm. Dylan protested, but Ron was already halfway down the hall. For the rest of the day, the three remaining friends avoided each other, unnerved by the constant, silent presence of the burning flame. They tried everything. Putting the candle in the freezer, it didn't melt, and the flame didn't die. Wrapping it in fire blankets, the cloth began to smolder immediately, and finally, just hiding it in the back of Dylan's locked closet. By 9 p.m., a palpable tension hung over the dorm suite. Dylan was too distracted to look at his trending feed. Sam couldn't focus on her homework, and Mark was physically shaking. They were waiting for Ron. He hadn't answered his phone since taking the candle. Maybe he just went off campus to a party? Mark suggested weakly. "No, Ron doesn't miss dinner," Sam said, her face pale. "And his room is empty. I checked. The door was unlocked, his phone was on the bed, and his keys were on the desk." Dylan swallowed hard. "And the candle?" Sam looked down. "I didn't see any glass of water. I didn't see the candle at all." The fear in the room coalesced into certainty. Ron wasn't avoiding them. Something was profoundly wrong. "We have to tell someone," Mark whispered, tears welling up in his eyes. "Tell them what?" Dylan's voice was hoarse. "That our fake summoning ritual worked, and the spirit took Ron, who was represented by the element of air." He walked to his closet and dramatically threw the door open. The closet was dark, save for one tiny, unnerving light. The fourth candle, the one he had hidden, was still burning, tucked beneath a pile of old t-shirts. Its light was a steady, terrible beacon. The candle didn't go with Ron, Sam breathed, her eyes fixed on the burning wick. It just stayed. Chapter 3. The Empty Chair. The disappearance of Ron was confirmed by campus security the next morning. No forced entry, no note, no witnesses. Just an empty room and a phone charging on the bedside table. The three remaining friends, Dylan, Sam, and Mark, were interviewed, gave vague answers about a late night, and immediately gathered back in Dylan's dorm room, their nerves frayed to breaking points. They didn't mention the ritual or the candle. They didn't have to. The candle was back. It wasn't in Dylan's closet anymore. When Sam woke up, she found the persistent, impossibly burning candle sitting on her own desk. It was dry, clean, and still emanating that unnatural, steady heat. She had stared at it for 5 minutes, convinced she was hallucinating, before sprinting back to Dylan's room. "It's moving," Mark whispered, huddled in the corner, clutching a pillow like a shield. It follows the next one. "It's just messing with us," Dylan said, though he was frantically trying to scrub the viral video from the internet. The internet was faster. The comments had shifted from fake to "where's Ron?" They agreed on a new, desperate plan. They had to snuff the flame permanently. Sam, who was represented by the element of earth, was practical. She brought in a heavy granite mortar and pestle. It didn't work in the water, and it didn't work with fire retardant cloth. "We grind it to dust, physically destroy the medium." They placed a burning candle inside the mortar. Sam raised the heavy granite pestle, her face set in a grim mask of determination, and brought it down with crushing force. Crack! The mortar shattered outward, sending pieces of granite flying. Sam cried out, clutching her hand, which was bleeding. The candle, however, was completely intact. The flame hadn't even flickered. In the ensuing silence, Sam collapsed onto her bed, burying her face in her hands. "It won't die, Dylan. We can't kill it. It doesn't want to die," Ron's newly added voice whispered, so faintly they almost missed it. They all froze. The whisper wasn't coming from the wall. It was coming from the single, burning candle, now sitting upright on Sam's desk amongst the broken granite shards. The flames seemed to have grown infinitesimally taller, casting a longer, hungrier shadow. Dylan edged toward the candle and recorded it, not for views, but for proof. He played the audio back. The whisper was clear now, thin and metallic. "Don't leave me. Stay asleep." Mark let out a sob. That's what Ron used to say when he got drunk. He would always tell us, "Don't leave me here." The realization hit them like a physical blow. The entity wasn't just taking them. It was consuming them, incorporating their identity, their pain, and their fear into its medium. Sam, represented by Earth, was next. They knew it. And that persistent, silent, burning candle was her countdown clock. Chapter 4, The Final Breath. They didn't sleep. They spent the entire night huddled in Dylan's room, watching the candle glow on the desk. They called campus security again, fabricating a story about Ron's unstable mental state. Security offered empty promises of searches. The police considered it a missing persons case, but without a struggle or witnesses, they were at a dead end. Mark, the most sensitive, was broken. He kept staring at the candle, rocking back and forth. "I can't hear him," Mark whispered, his eyes distant. "I can hear Ron. He sounds so far away. He's begging for quiet." Dylan, fueled by panic and caffeine, had one final, desperate idea. "The candle represents fire," Dylan said, pointing to the flame. "It won't go out with water, and it won't break. We have to extinguish it with its own element." He located a small can of lighter fluid and a large, heavy-duty gas lantern from his camping gear. "We smother the oxygen with intense, contained heat. We overwhelm the flame." It was 11:45 p.m. The candle sat in the center of the room. Sam was crying silently, and Mark looked catatonic. Dylan stood over the candle with a heavy, unlit lantern. "If this works, we're safe," Dylan said, his voice cracking. "If not, I don't know." As the clock ticked to 11:58 p.m., Dylan carefully uncapped the lighter fluid, soaking the wick and the wax of the already burning candle with a volatile substance. At 12 a.m., the flame roared. Instead of being overwhelmed, the small, persistent wick greedily devoured the fuel, shooting up a foot-high column of pure, white-hot fire. The heat in the small room was instant and blistering. Dylan stumbled backward, dropping the large lantern. The flame on the candle was now monstrous, consuming the light and the air. And from the center of the fierce blaze, a new, combined whisper emanated. The voice of Ron mixed with Sam's earlier sarcasm. "You can't cheat the script, Dylan. We told you. The flame stays lit." Suddenly, the monstrous flame shrank back, instantly returning to its original, steady, unnerving height. The lighter fluid had vanished without a trace, and the room was icy cold again. Mark was the first to disappear. Dylan, blinded by the blast of heat, rubbed his eyes. When he looked back, Mark was gone from the corner. No sound, no scuffle, no open door. Just an empty space where his friend had been rocking. And on the table, the candle was back in the center of the room, still burning, but now sitting neatly on a single, clean square of folded cloth. Mark had been the element of air, and the candle was now dressed with his element. A terrible, weak whisper emanated from the flame. It was Mark's terrified voice. "It's so dark, please turn on the light." Sam looked at Dylan, her face a mask of absolute horror. "It's you and me, Dylan. Water and fire." Dylan, the catalyst, the one who broke the first rule, felt a cold knot of certainty solidify in his chest. He was fire. The candle had been his from start. He looked at Sam, the last one left. He wanted to scream a plan, beg for help, but his mouth was dry. He just stared at the persistent, burning wick. The next morning, campus security found Sam's dorm room empty. Her phone and keys were on the desk. They also found something strange in the center of the floor. A small, dry, white candle still burning with an unnaturally steady flame, sitting in a neat, shallow puddle of water. Dylan was never seen again. He was the only one who truly disappeared. The only trace left behind was a viral video with millions of views and a cryptic final post in the comment section. At Candle Guy Official, the flame is the viewer is the fuel. And in the silence of the abandoned dorm room, the candle, representing the final element of fire, burned patiently, ready to be moved, ready for the next person who just wanted to break a rule for a few easy views. Epilogue: the perpetual stream. The disappearance of the 4 college students, Ron, Mark, Sam, and finally Dylan, became a minor local sensation, then a national true crime footnote. The case was riddled with inconsistencies, from missing adults, all seemingly vanishing without a trace from a secure campus dorm, leaving behind no evidence of struggle or foul play. The police, unable to comprehend the concept of shared delusion involving a cursed candle, classified them as runaways or victims of a coordinated crime ring. The dorm room eventually went quiet, sanitized, and sealed. Only the candle remained, now an immutable object in the locked room. It was Dylan's laptop, however, that preserved the house's horrific secret and perpetuated the ritual. 6 months after the last disappearance, Dylan's TikTok profile at Candle Guy Official experienced a sudden, inexplicable surge in activity. His final video, the clip of the submerged candle burning in water, was still viral, but now, a new element was emerging in the comment section. The comment section was no longer filled with viewers arguing over its authenticity. Now, a collection of unique, verified users began leaving the exact same comment, spaced hours apart. At Ron Rides, "It smells like shit in here, let me out." At Marky Mark, "It's so dark." At Sam_sarcastic, "The light." At Dylan Visuals, "The flame is the viewer is the fuel." These were the voices, the final words, and the internal torments of the trapped students, now digitally weaponized. The worst part, the names of the accounts changed. Over time, those 4 primary comment accounts would disappear, only to be replaced by new, random verified users repeating the same exact lines, keeping the narrative alive. The ritual had not only trapped the students, it had forced their suffering into a perpetual, automated loop on the platform that brought them together. The candle ritual wasn't the summoning of a demon. It was the creation of a digital haunting, using social media as the eternal wick. One evening, a student named Mia, living 2 floors below the sealed Dylan's room, was scrolling through the comments on the infamous Candle Guy video. She was a budding forensic videographer, intrigued by the disappearance case and the bizarre, repeating comments. She noticed a new comment pop up under the quartet of chilling, repeated lines. "And Mia here now. This is fake. I live in this dorm, and I'm going to prove it." A strange, quiet feeling of being watched washed over her. She shrugged it off as the power of suggestion. When she went back to her room, she found her phone battery draining rapidly. She plugged it into the wall charger and sat down at her desk. It was 11:59 p.m. On her desk, sitting next to her laptop, was a strange object. It was a white, thin candle, perfectly upright. The wick was already lit, burning with a steady, unnatural flame that cast no flicker, no shadow, and radiated a faint, almost hypnotic heat. Mia leaned closer, intrigued, reaching out a hesitant finger. At 12 a.m., the candle let out a single, thin, metallic whisper that seemed to emanate directly from the tiny flame, too quiet to be heard by anyone but her. "Welcome, Mia. You volunteered." Mia didn't scream. She reached for her phone to take a picture, convinced this was the evidence she needed to blow the case wide open. As her screen lit up, she realized the truth. The light of the phone, the desire for the view, was the only thing the flame truly needed. The cycle had simply found its newest, most current medium, and the 4 original students, now 5, continued to whisper their agony into the endless stream of the internet, waiting for the next curious viewer to break the rules. Remember, virality is not worth validity. Never compromise your safety, well-being, or the safety of others for digital clout. The consequences are real. Even if a challenge seems fake or just for fun, real-world actions have real-world consequences that cannot be deleted or undone like a video. Challenge the content, not your safety. Be a critical viewer and prioritize your own safety over the pursuit of views. Thank you for listening, and have a nice nightmares.